Today, we're diving into a really strange legal battle happening in the world of real estate. It's a story that's got everything: big money, huge companies, and a pretty controversial strategy that has one group of homeowners crying foul, saying they're being cheated out of their day in court.
And that really brings us to the central question, which sounds completely backward, doesn't it? Usually, getting a company to pay a settlement is the whole point of a lawsuit. So why on earth would these home buyers be fighting to stop a company from paying up? Well, that's the mystery we're going to unravel right now.
So right in the middle of all this, you've got one real estate brokerage, Hanna Holdings, and they are caught between two massive lawsuits. And the way they're trying to get out of this legal mess is what's stirring up all this controversy.
All right, let's break down the two main cases here. On one side, you've got Davis versus Hanna Holdings out of Pennsylvania. Now, this is a serious, 2-year-long fight that's even gotten the attention of the Department of Justice. But then, on the other side, you have something called the Tuccori settlement in Illinois. Now, this isn't a lawsuit directly against Hanna. It's more like a big, global settlement fund that a bunch of other companies have already been paying into. So you've got two totally different legal battlegrounds.
And this is a really crucial point. This isn't some brand new fight. The folks in the Davis case, the plaintiffs, they've poured a ton of time and money into this case. They are in it for the long haul, and they really believe they have a rock-solid claim against Hanna Holdings.
So you can imagine, with this really serious lawsuit hanging over their heads in Pennsylvania, Hanna Holdings started looking for a way out, an escape hatch, if you will. And it looks like they might have found one in that other case we just mentioned, the Tuccori settlement.
So what in the world is a global settlement fund? Well, think of it kind of like a legal pot of money. Multiple companies can all chip in to settle a whole wave of similar lawsuits all at once. For a brokerage, it's a way to pay a set amount of money and just make all these legal headaches disappear, without having to fight a long, drawn-out court battle.
And here's the thing. Hanna Holdings isn't the first company to try this. This whole opt-in strategy has actually become super popular. More than a dozen other firms have already used this Tuccori fund to settle their own cases. It's become a clear trend in the real estate industry.
Okay, this is where the story gets really explosive. The plaintiffs in that first case, the Davis case, they have a name for what they believe Hanna Holdings is up to. And it is a very serious accusation. They're calling it a reverse auction.
So what do they mean by a reverse auction in a legal fight? Well, imagine you're facing this really tough, really expensive lawsuit. Instead of fighting it head-on, you go out and find another, much weaker group of plaintiffs, people who have way less power over you, and you offer them a quick, cheap settlement. Now, if they take the deal, you then use that agreement to wipe out not just their claim, but also the claim from that much stronger group that was suing you in the first place. That is exactly what the Davis plaintiffs are accusing Hanna of doing here.
And their whole argument really boils down to a few key claims. First, they point out that Hanna is trying to settle a case in Illinois, a state where a court had already said it has no jurisdiction, meaning it didn't have the legal power to even hear a case against them. Second, they argue that the plaintiffs in that Illinois case had absolutely zero leverage to negotiate a fair deal. And third, they claim this whole thing is just a cynical ploy to get out of the much more serious Pennsylvania lawsuit for pennies on the dollar.
And listen, the language they use in their court filing is incredibly direct. They do not mince words. They come right out and say that Hanna paid a bargain basement price.
And who do they say gets hurt in all of this? Well, they claim the real losers of this unsavory deal are the injured homebuyer class members, whose claims, they say, have been sold out from under their feet for a fraction of their true value. That is a powerful, powerful accusation of injustice. Okay, so let's zoom out from all the courtroom drama for a second. Why should anybody outside of the specific case actually care? Because what happens here could have huge ripple effects, way beyond these specific people and this one company. If you look at this timeline, it really puts the whole conflict into perspective. You see the fight kicks off about 2 years ago, then the federal government gets involved, and then this sudden strategic move by Hanna in March, which is immediately shut down by this emergency injunction. It's like watching a high-stakes chess match play out in real time. Look, this isn't just about Hanna Holdings. What's really being tested here is a legal strategy. If this works for Hanna, it could basically create a playbook for other big corporations that are facing massive, expensive class action lawsuits. It would essentially give them a way out, a way to cap the damage for just a fraction of the potential cost. It would validate this reverse auction tactic as a totally viable way to neutralize a major legal threat.
Which, of course, leaves us with the ultimate question. Is what Hanna's doing just a clever use of the legal system's existing rules, a corporate loophole? Or Does it expose a really deep flaw in the justice system itself, one that allows powerful companies to basically pick their weakest opponent and buy their way out of trouble on the cheap? The court's decision on this injunction, well, that's going to be our first real clue to the answer.